Righto, it's Sunday. Getting on in September now. We are the winter weather is firmly August. It's on its way. I'm going to talk today about a few hot topics. One, a man shot dead by police in southeast London. Two, Alex Belfield sent to prison for a long time, and a policeman who evades prison, but he has 8,000 indecent images on his computer of children, but evades prison. So it's all up in the air. It's all to play for. We really are in quite a demonic system. First, says Cockney Patriot, lovely to see you, mate. I'm going to wait for a few people to pop in, and we're going to be talking about, and of course, the Queen is laid at rest at the moment, and there's something like a 29-mile queue. People have been taking marmalade sandwiches. Can you believe it? And they're saying they can see the Queen in the clouds. One group of people, the woman in her 40s, maybe early 50s, I'm being very kind, she took her mother's ashes to see the Queen off so that she could witness it and see it. But we've always been a nation of this, you see, because many years ago we dug Oliver Cromwell up, and they put him on trial, although he was a bit like that at the time, probably a bit smelly. But I'm thinking to myself, wouldn't it be easier to wield a Queen in front of the 25-mile long queue? It's got to be easier than that, isn't it? Prince Charles, they're making sausages now, little porkers, because he's got little fat fingers, and he's got a little gold ring which all the Masons wear, which is about here. And I'm just wondering whether he's going to have that carved off at some point, because he looks like his fingers are a little bit too big for the ring. I'm just a man. I know, darling. I know you are. So, I'm going to kick off in a little while once we've got the numbers up a little bit. I know it's Sunday. People are probably obviously out playing their ukulele or going to church. Bless you, my son, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. That's why all choir boys have got centre partings, ladies and gentlemen, and it bless you, my son. Bless you. Yes, we all know it goes on. There's a couple that I look after in Maidstone, and they got two girls, and they had these girls through IVF years ago. And that's not Ivy that goes around the bus shelter on a Friday night. IVF, which is like the test tube kids. And I met the first ever test tube kids in this country many, many years ago. That Professor Winston, the guy with the big black tash that looks like a 70s porn star. I met Becky and Matt, who were the very first two individuals born out of a test tube. All right. Lovely, lovely, lovely people. But anyway, these two girls were born from IVF, and they were, the mother and father were very lucky that they were conceived in the womb and did come into the world. But they used to go to a church in Maidstone and do all the happy clapping and sing songs and all that. None of them read scripture, by the way, but they go to these churches and they surround themselves with people that drink holy water and take these little pieces of bread and eat them, and they bless them. I've never understood that myself, and I've been to church many times through weddings and funerals and bar mitzvahs, and I've had the opportunity to do these things, but I've always not for me. I don't like that. But anyway, these two young girls, rather attractive, and the priest in the church in Maidstone started to do a bit of Jimmy Savile grooming with one of them, and he evaded prosecution because the church enveloped him into their womb and spread him around the country somewhere else. And this slippery man of the cloth, I'm sure he was touching cloth for a little while, evaded prosecution, but he was actively trying to groom this young girl up for nefarious actions. And it just goes to show you, guys and girls, look, I'm not here to kick the teeth out of the system. The system's doing that pretty well on its own right now, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? With your fuel bills and your energy bills and your food and your groceries and your council taxes. Lord knows. I don't even know how many people in this country now have even got the time to come up for breath. I really don't. And I started to see this going quite a few years ago. I never forget seeing people's the ability to earn this paper currency. Tarquin's in the pub saying, oh, $2,000 a week I'm on. And I'm like, well, everyone's boasting about how much they handle of this paper fiat currency, but none of them are realizing that it's like digging. It's like we're all on a boat, right? We're like me, you, all of you that are tuned in right now. We're all on this boat. And all of a sudden, one of us on the boat says, fuck it, we've got a leak. And we all sit around and we all look at each other and we all panic and we think, well, unless we do something, we're going to go down. So we all get our spades and our oars out and we're all bailing this water out, but the hole's getting bigger. And we're battling away like this and the water's flying all over our shoulders, but the hole in the boat gets too big and guess what? We all sink anyway. And that's what's happening in this country with many, many, many people. Don't get me wrong, there's lots and lots of people in this country that probably this ain't touching too much because, I don't know, maybe they got fortunes. My neighbour over the road just had her husband home for a month, but he's had to go back into care now. He's not a very well man, quite elderly gentleman. And she's just had to cough up £6,000 in a month to pay for his care. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't. So that's what we're doing. So we've all got our head down and our bums up in the air. And many of those out there that are working, trying to make ends meet, I can imagine they're just scraping through a lot of these months now. But it's going to get worse. I'm not here to spread doom and gloom. Make no mistake about it. I'm here because I care for people. I care for what goes on in your life. I care for the fact that all of your natural God-given rights are being ripped away from you. And we've got this corporate, sick, twisted government that walks all over us, walks into our houses, didn't they? These stormtroopers in uniform, whenever they like, because they can, because no one's stopping them doing this. No one's standing up and being counted. There are a few people that are standing up and being counted. Trust me, there are. We've got a great gentleman in Kent, ladies and gentlemen, Bob White, who stood up and took on the Kent police earlier on in this year and won a very big court case, and that is that a man owns his castle, and unless someone has lawful excuse to be there, they've got no right to be there. And Kent police were sent off reeling. The jury and the judge found Kent police guilty of unlawful trespass. Now, we haven't seen judgments like this for a long, long, long time. Now, maybe you could argue that people would say, well, we're out the EU now. Well, we're not out the EU, guys. If you sat at home and you're tuning into this little show, wherever it is that you are in the world, make no mistakes, you're not out of the European Union. You're given the illusion that you are, but you're not, because they're still pulling the strings in many, many, many ways. Now, many years ago, they joined the European Union, the EEC, whatever it was called, to trade, to have French cheese, German cars, bottles of wine by the gallon, and Argentinian beef, and all these, well, Argentinians out the EU anyway. It's just part of the country. And we trade with so many countries around the world. We trade with Australia, Africa, America, China. You've all got your new batteries, haven't you, ladies? You've got your new toys turned up for Christmas. And they've all come, and it all says made in China on the bottom of it, doesn't it? When you turn it upside down, you go, oh, made in China. Very nice too. And that's what we do. So the European Union, in essence, only has a very small part to play in what we trade in with around the world. And of course, we're not very good exporters anymore because we're a nation of nannies. We're nannied by the state. You know, the police tell us what we can do, where we can go, how we can drive. They tell us where we can live, how we can live. How to be with our neighbours. And don't get me wrong, it's very nice to live in a cordial thing where we're all keeping the peace. That's a really, really, really nice thing to do. But it's gone too far now, hasn't it? It's gone too far one way, and we're starting to see the kickback. We're starting to see people saying, you know, well, I'm not too sure what the future holds. So, you know, they're being vigilant, and that's a good thing. It really, really is. It is a very, very, very good thing. You're on the boat. Oh, he's on a boat. Are you on your boat? Have you had it dropped in today? Fair play. Surprised they didn't change to see the sprawling flag. Says media mogul. What a beautiful Mia, media mogul, lovely to see you. Mia goes on to say they were going to close Westminster Food Bank Monday till backlash enforced to remain open. Food banks, goodness me, that's a subject for a video all of itself. Now, we find ourselves in a situation, ladies and gentlemen, don't we, up and down the country. Now, look, I'm a man, as you can see, I grew up in southeast London, in Peckham. I've always worked with my hands for a living. I've always tried to maintain common sense. I love to keep the peace. I love people, and I think we should all be getting on together. And I've done okay in life. I've had things, I've lost things, I've got things back again. I know it's just a treadmill. We're all on this treadmill. And I've been homeless. For sure I have. I lived in my van for a month or two when I got divorced years ago. So I know how tough things are. But food banks, in essence, we shouldn't have to have them. There should be enough to, if we was a loving, caring people, we just wouldn't have food banks. We really wouldn't. But food banks are not governmental. They're not run by the government. Food banks are run by the people, and they're funded by the people, because people will go to Aldi's, Lidl's, Tesco's, wherever. They might think, well, we'll have a fiver this week. We'll get some pastas, some tins of tomatoes and that, and we'll take them down to the food bank. So people that go without can go and eat. Now, I can guarantee to you all around the world, wherever you are, that we have police, men and women in this country that go to food banks. We do. Up round Liverpool Way, one of my friends sat with a chief constable quite a few years ago and said, are you aware that 8 of your constables go to our food bank because they donate to the food bank? They go around and collect all the tin cans up. And what they do with the tin cans, they crush the aluminium tin. Sorry, I've been working on my bike. That's why we've got black hands today. They crush the tin cans down. They go and weigh the tin cans in at the scrap merchants. They get a few quid. They take the food. They transfer that to food, and they take the food to food banks. And so they're aware that policemen and women, whether they go in there in uniform, I don't know. But we have men and women in uniform in the job today that do go to food banks. And when you look at the police themselves, just the word job, you'll always hear a policeman, oh, we've done a job last night, or we went to a job here this morning. Well, hang on a minute. What do you mean a job? The police should never be a job. The police's job is just to keep the peace and to maintain the rule of law. The policing should never be about making money. It should never, ever be about speeding fines and stuff like that. Never, ever, ever. That is a breach of trust. And that is, as far as I am, as an Englishman that studied a bit of history in the law, that's treason. That is treason. Anyway, so let's get into our first story today. The first story today I want to bring to you, and it is going to be about the police shooting dead a man the other day in southeast London, I do believe. So here we go. We're going to be screen sharing now. So here we go. You should see add to stream. Here we go. So let's have a quick look. So police officer who shot dead unarmed Chris Kaba has been suspended from duty. Chris Kaba was shot dead last week after a police chase. There have been protests over his killing, and the police watchdog has started a homicide investigation. Now, what bothers me here is this word here. Now, we know words are spells. We know all words are spells. When you was at school, the teachers say, have you done your spellings? And you say, yeah, I've done my spellings. We know that words are just spells. We know this, okay? So this is an American word, homicide. We've never really had that word in this country. So here's Chris, good-looking young man, was shot dead through the window of his car. Policeman shot dead an unarmed black man in South London has been suspended. Chris Kaba, 24, was killed last Monday after a chase in Streatham Mill. A single shot was fired after firearms officers deliberately crashed into his car to stop it. The Metropolitan Police said officers pursued the vehicle after a number plate recognition camera indicated it had been linked to a firearms offence. But I think this is coming to light now that this ain't true. So, and we do believe we're leading this, that Chris Kaba was just this ain't as it seems. Otherwise, the police man that's done this or the police individuals wouldn't have been suspended. I wouldn't have thought so. Mr. Cabra, who's a rapper, died in hospital after there had been protests over his killing, including one at a weekend in which hundreds marched to Parliament. The Independent Office for Police Conduct, which is run by the police, it's not independent. Make no mistakes about it. Here we go. The communistic rules, the words that they use. It's giving you the illusion that it's independent, but it ain't, because it's all ex-coppers that work for the IPPC. The police watchdog has stated a homicide investigation. There we go. American word again. Assistant Commissioner Amanda Pearson said that the officer had been suspended after considering factors such as the significant impact on public confidence and the investigation. Our thoughts and sympathies remain with Mr. Cabra's family and friends. Well, don't shoot him in the first place. Do you understand? And and what I've always said is, where do you draw the line with this? Where do you draw the line? Is it education, lack of love? Why are people doing these things? It's because of the exacerbated system and crapness that we live in, that people do. Look at him. What a handsome man he looks, man. I'm not, I don't care whether you're black, white, Chinese, pick your nose on a Friday. I really couldn't care less. Colour really means nothing to me. It's people. I love people. So look, good looking man, beautiful smile, come on. Why what was the need to shoot him dead? Why not shoot him in the leg? The police are trained to double tap. They did this with Adebalaju years ago at Woolwich. We're led to believe, and I would love to see Adebalaju in his underpants to see the shot wounds. I'm not convinced that Adebalaju has any shot wounds from that day in him. And that would be an absolute truth to see whether Adebalaju has got any shot wounds, because I don't think the Woolwich attack is as we think it is. The first reason is, why would that woman pushing the shopping trolley with the man with blood all over his hands and a big machete walk straight past him as cool as a cucumber, walking home with a shopping, while he's got a woman reporter putting a camera and a microphone in his face, and he's telling everyone why he's done what he's done. Firstly, if I work for Sky or the BBC or ITV and I see a man with blood all over his hands and a machete in his hands, I'd drop a fright fart and I'd be running the other way at about 1,000 miles an hour. I wouldn't be worried about my job with ITV, BBC. I'd be like, no, mate, I'm going the other way. And I don't care who you are, what walk of life you're in. Common sense would dictate that fight and flight in your body at that time would be, yeah, mate, I'm getting out of Dodge. So that's why I question the Woolwich bits and bobs, okay? So, yeah, here we see this has happened, and it's absolutely disgusting that this has happened, and it continues to happen. But this is education. This is the system we live in that's causing this, because there is a lack of people bringing people up properly anymore. The kids, they're not taught properly. What are the schools teaching people about love and respect and living in harmony? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So we're going to continue to see this get worse and worse and worse and worse. And every time a policeman shoots someone dead and nothing really happens, and no massive outrage within the people that actually go and do something and say, right, enough is enough. Stop this. I'd rather see this man alive, even if he was guilty. I'd rather see him alive, detained, and a trial, because that's justice. That's English justice. That's the rule of law. Because in the police, when you shoot someone dead, the individual that shoots you dead has become judge, jury, and executioner. And that's not what the law of this land is established on. Okay? I want to make that very clear. Anyway, we're moving on to the next story. Here we have Alex Belfield. Now, whether you know about Alex or not, I'm not too sure. But Alex, over the last few years, he was formerly worked for the BBC, and there's pictures of him giving Jimmy Savile a cuddle, and who knows what goes on. He's quite entertaining, but apparently he's been stalking Jeremy Vine. Yes, Jeremy Vine that goes out and does all these fabulous chat shows in the morning, ladies and gentlemen, that puts your news across to you, and he sits with all them loose women. He's there's been a court case, and Alex Belfield was always looking forward to his day in court. That's all his videos have been about for the last 8 to 10 months. Oh, I can't wait to get my day in court, blah, blah, blah. Well, anyway, he's had his day in court, and he's now 5 years in. Okay? Alex Belfield has received a 5-year jail sentence after being found guilty of stalking 4 people, including a fellow broadcaster. Okay. A former BBC radio presenter. Here we go. A former BBC radio presenter has received a 5-year jail sentence for being found guilty of stalking 4 people. Now, does stalking, online stalking, does it merit and warrant 5 years in prison? When paedophiles are getting away with murder, corruption with the police is never really spoken about, and never ever justice has been given. My friend Tracy Blackwell lost Harry, Josh, and George quite a few years ago. They all got killed by a white van that mounted a path and killed the kids, young teenagers, and threw Josh into a graveyard. Where's justice for Tracy? Where's justice for Josh? There isn't any. But when it comes to, oh, you've been stalking online, darling. Well, he's been given a 5-year prison sentence. Personally, this is a miscarriage of justice. And because stalking is stalking, if stalking gets physical, that's assault, that's a different story. But all these thought crimes and hurting people's feelings online, guys, it's not criminality, you know, because the other individual can choose to ignore it. Do you see what I'm saying? Defamation, all this stuff, so what? You can choose to ignore it. If someone is stalking you online, you can block them. Jeremy Vine had the absolute control to block all of Alex Belfield's bits and bobs. But the point is this. Does this man deserve to go to prison for 5 years? Well, I'll tell you now. I just wished Alex Belfield had studied the law as much as he was talking and screaming and shouting. He's a self-confessed gobshite, a bit like me. I'm a gobshite. I am a gobshite. I like to stand up for fairness, decency, and what's fair, right, and proper. I would rather the judiciary spend more time in convicting rapists, women rapists, and people that attack people with acid. I'd rather see them focus that point of attention on them and deal with that, because that's criminality. Stalking online is not criminal, guys. It's just not. And as I say, you can block someone. One of Belfield's victims was popular TV and radio presenter Jeremy Vine. The judge said Belfield made wholly false allegations about Mr. Vine stealing £1,000 of BBC licence payers' money. You were not a whistleblower in any sense, but developed a fixation with pursuing Mr. Vine. See, Mr. Vine, fiction, with a campaign of abuse, the judge commented. So, guys, this is, look, I know 100% that our court system is a business. It's just business-based. It's money, money, money. And you can say, well, no, actually, it don't. They do. Every court case, they create money because they're raping the birth certificate bonds. This is how they're accessing the trust. When you stand up as a legal name, guess what? That trust gets activated. That SKV trust gets activated, and they're in there. They possess the title, they're in there, and they're accessing the estate, and they're creating money. My friend once asked the judge where the court gets their monies from. And my friend was firmly told by a judge, that's none of your business. None of your business. So we know that the courts are a swindle. We know that they're just business centres, business centres, business centres. All about the money. It's all it is. But because rape, pillage, acid attack, murder isn't financial in its sense, then they don't pay no attention to it. Not really. But we need to be back to the rule of law in this country. We really, really do. Now, on the flip side, this is a website called The Stray Ferret. I do like the name of this. It's very funny. This is a police officer avoids jail after downloading 8,000 indecent images of children. And this is written by Nick Towell. And this was last updated on June the 4th, 2022. So you can see Leeds magistrates caught with this lovely big triangle at the top. They're very Masonic, darling. Very, 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 very Masonic, darling. A North Yorkshire police officer who downloaded more than 8,000 indecent images of children has avoided a prison sentence. Christopher Groom, 41 of Main Street, Claxton, trawled the internet for images of youngsters using search terms such as naked young teens, naked young models. Leeds magistrates courts here today. Now, also, when you consider that we all get censored on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, everyone gets a ban for telling the truth. Now, Plato, the legend that was Plato, he turned around and said a man is no more despised in the world as one that talks and tells the truth. So when people like me, we come and do these things, we get despised in many ways because, as Plato quite clearly said, none is more despised and hated than one that tells the truth. I just tried to tell the truth. I like to let you guys know what's going on out there in the real world. And we as a collective, we as a people, we're responsible for this. We are responsible. We've become a very dirty, dark, nasty people. And that's the truth. And that's why people like me are hated, because we tell it how it is. We're not glossy. People like me, we're not glossy. We're not magazine types. We're just here trying to bring you your nuts and bolts, down to earth chit chat. Among the photos downloaded by Groom were sexual images of children between 8 and 14-year-olds, says prosecutor Charles McRae. Groom, who had since resigned from the force, was arrested after police from North Yorkshire online abuse searched his home in December 2016. 2021, they seized the computer tower and mobile phone and took the devices away for analysis. Groom was brought in for questioning and gave a prepared statement, but denied he had searched for indecent images and said he was shocked to find them on his device. Oh, of course. Forensic analysis, Groom's computer tower revealed that he had downloaded 8,777 Category C images of children over what is thought to have been a 7-year period. Mr. McRae said file names and internet search associated with child abuse were found on the tower. He was interviewed again in January after the forensic report and provided a further prepared statement in which he claimed he had not deliberately sought out indecent images. I've got to be honest, I think as a people, as a country, as a nation, we're quite sick. I think there's mental illness gone berserk. Whatever happened to decency, whatever happened to goodness, what happened to Little House on the fucking prairie, whatever happened to that life? Did it ever exist? Was that just a bubble that we was given, an illusion? You know, why are these things going on? Why do we have serving policemen and women downloading images of naked children? It's disgusting. Groom of Main Street, Claxton, was charged with one count of making indecent images of minors between December 2014 and November 2021. He admitted the offence and appeared for sentence today, but he got off. He didn't go to prison. Yeah. Now, this is more heinous than Belfield stalking Jeremy Vine, for goodness sake. Now, it just goes to show you that the BBC, massive corporation, although more than 3 million households in this nation don't sponsor it no more. They won't pay the license because they know that there's a bunch of pedos hanging out of it and that they're nefarious. So they've said no, but we can see that the law is a business. The police are a business. So's the BBC a business. This is why they've come down hard, because the BBC are in bed with all these big corporate mafia Masonic people. Yes. And this is why a policeman has, and the reason why Alex Belfield's been sent down for 5.5 years is because he was hitting it head on. And he had so many people that were tuning into him. My mother, in fact, used to tune into the Rusty Rocket with his red hair and damp garage all the time. And he's touched many thresholds and many houses in this land, and many people now know who he is. And that's the reason why he's been given a 5-year sentence, because they wanted to shut him up and lock him up and get him out of the way so that he can't continue doing what he's doing. That's the only reason. However, the forensic, that's just my opinion, by the way. That's just my opinion. But that's how I see it, because we know that the bailiffs and the courts and the corporations, they're all in bed together. They're all they're all having a massive frenzied orgy at the expense of us, the people. Matthew Savage, mitigating said groom was now charged. A charged man having voluntarily enrolled on an offenders prevention course. The AD groom had resigned from the force because he felt that his position was untenable. Mr. Savage said he remains deeply embarrassed and ashamed of his behaviour. He said groom understands fully the impact of this type of offending has, and that his arrest and subsequent conviction has been a very salutary lesson. District Judge Richard Kitson said the huge number of images were an aggravating factor in groom's despicable offences. Now, look, guys, you know, we got judges up and down this land that are involved in all this stuff. You know, they take anyway. Just go and research judges and sexual offences with boys and stuff, and then you can go and make your own mind. I asked, who do I write the check to? Case dismissed. That was my result. What was that for? Let's have a look. Anointed today. Had my appointment and baptism. Way, lovely day. Police played bailiff too. And they assaulted me with eviction, then homeless year and a half as benefits took year to pay my rent. So lost me my rental home and all my personal effects. What? And it's sick. We really do have some very sick people in this country running places they ought not. Now, I spoke to a mate of mine yesterday, and he's a deeply scriptural boy, and he turned around and said to me, the wrong people in society have the guns. And I make him right. I do make him right. I've seen some police, and I've seen their body language, and I've seen their facial expressions, and they, for all intents and purposes, display very zombie-like patterns and behaviour. And I do believe that we've lost all sense and semblance of what is natural and what is normal because of the system that we live in. But I tell you now, guys, there's more and more people that are starting to get this. I would say that there's over half the country now that's got to be awake. That's got to be. But you won't see this on the BBC. You won't see this on ITV because that's all mainstream drivel. But I think that people now at last are starting to realise this, and they're now turning away. They're turning away from the BBC and the ITV. They say, no, we don't want your nonsense. We know what you're up to. We don't want to know anymore. We're getting our information from elsewhere. And that's where things like this are good, because we can come in here. I'm not paid. I'm not sponsored. I see and hear generally what goes on in the world. Now, I'm quite a private man. You know, I see on one hand a handful of people a week because mankind scares me now. Mankind scares me. Mankind's become a little bit too violent for my liking, and I'm very lucky that the good Lord has put me in a position in the country. Now, I'm under no illusion that some fucktard in government or the police or the courts would at some point probably want to come and have a spoil with me and take, because they're sick, because they're possessed, because they're evil. I don't do evil, guys. I really don't do evil. Let him magnify truth and it will magnify him. Yeah, I agree, Kenneth. And here's a man that knows scripture. Let him magnify truth and it will magnify him. Let him strengthen truth and it will strengthen him. Let him exalt truth, it will exalt him. Let him guard truth, it will guard him. I like that. I do like that. Lauren, I'm not too sure. I'm just going to go back through the comments, Lauren, and see what it is that you're talking about today. Because you're saying, anointed today, bless your heart. Ask, who do I write a check to? Case dismissed. What was that about, mate? Can you driving offences? Oh, bless your heart. Oh, as in which man or woman do I write the check to? It's, look, you get these things through the post, don't you? Intended notice of prosecution for driving, and it's got the victim surcharge, and you think, who's a victim? And they say, well, the state's a victim. But the state's dead. The state's a 2D thing. It's not living. I'm not, I'm going to bring you these truths. Whether you get it or you don't get it, I don't know. I'm hoping that more of you get it, but the state isn't real. It's just a construct. It's just words on paper. The whole system is just words on paper. Their whole system is a dead entity. It's just computers churning these things out. And occasionally you'll stumble across a man or a woman in these things that you might want to, go and have a word with and say, what do you think you're playing at? But most people get so incensed by they're waking up now, and some of them can't see where all this stems from. And where all this stems from is us. We sign all these contracts with government, don't we? We sign a driving license, we sign a DVLA logbook, and we're giving it all away. It's like we sign our houses. We give land registrations to the land registry. Well, there's probably more than half the land in this country that's not on the land registry because people keep their stuff private. And we have the absolute right to be private. Otherwise, there's literally no point in being alive. You have an absolute right to be private and settle in the private. You don't have to, you cannot be forced to operate in this public fictional domain. You don't. Well, the police will try and force you to. They hold your hand down so that they get your thumbprints and get you to sign a squiggle on a piece of paper because they're devoid of soul and spirit and they've become narcissistical assholes. And that's the truth of it. Most people can't handle the truth. Remember, what did Plato say? He said, no man is more despised than one that tells and talks the truth. But people don't understand how they get themselves into the situation. We go and sign these driver licenses. Look, I'm all for living in a world where education is key, where we all look after one another, where we all teach each other to travel on the road and to operate an automobile, do the gears, and so that you're safe. But what I'm wholly against is these entrapment contracts. The minute you sign that driver license, that examiner should lay the bare facts down in front of you. Even if you ask him, you should be asking your examiner, right, so you just said I've just passed. And I implore all of you that just pass your tests or you're coming up to take your tests, ask your examiner when he says, congratulations to say that you've passed your, because they'll sit like this, don't they? I'm very pleased to say that you've passed your driving test today, and you can go out in the world now. And he gives you that clipboard, doesn't he, with that pen, and you sign it. But if you ask him, thank you today for telling me and confirming that I'm able to use the roads and use my inheritance as it is. If I sign this, what rights am I giving up? Is this a contract? Am I signing all my God-given rights over to you so that your men and women in uniform, if they don't like what I'm doing, can drag me out of the car, kick shit out of me? And he's then going to have to reveal. He's supposed to reveal the contracts. We can't be forced, guys. We should never, ever, ever be forced. Have you noticed that the sun now print in purple, from red to purple? The devil in the print, God in the detail. Yeah, I like that. I do like that. Lauren, if there's no harm, no loss, no injury, it all goes to the judge's coffers, which they'll get each year and don't want to know about. Now you do. Yeah. Guys, look, we're at a point in this world where things are going a little bit south, but there's good stuff coming. Make no mistake about it, guys. If you decide that you want to learn and you want to run and you want to learn your natural God-given rights and get back to your God-given rights, you can learn this stuff. You can actually take back control of your own estate and dominion. You can. And there's a fabulous website, guys, that I'm quickly going to show you that you can go to and start learning. And you're soon, very swiftly, going to start seeing this, and it will become very apparent to you. Okay. Now, this is, many of you may know, many of you might not know. This is a website called successors.ca. Okay. As you can see, successors.ca. Let me just pop to the top here. So what it says about our journey. Successors will take you on a journey into the history of English law, providing sources written by the top scholars of English law that shaped and carved English law into what it is today. We will be correcting the different beliefs that people currently hold about what the English system of law actually is and how the government and the monarchy established the power and authority they enforce today, showing what real freedom is and how one can obtain this without forcing anything onto another individual living under natural law until, of course, those individual makes agreements that they are both aware of and agree to between themselves. All law is based on territory land. Territory is controlled over an area of land founded upon the legal principles found in the private international law. You listen, guys, this is just fabulous. It says trust. It is an equitable obligation that binds the trustee to deal with property owned by him. The trust property for the benefit of persons known as beneficiaries, or whom he may be one, and anyone who may enforce the obligation or the furtherance of certain purposes, such as charitable purposes. What we're saying here, we can see that the slaves of Anglo-Saxon law are still known to the law. They are sharply distinguished even from the Porus, Villainous, and Catarius. In fact, the Villainous of Doomsday might be the man of property. We are far as yet. This is, honestly, guys, this website, the Lord's Manor, it's just going to teach you so much. It tells you what property is, corporal, and it tells you how everything is held. It tells you how government holds land for the use, and the government holds equitable title, whereas the monarch holds legal title. And you can decipher all this, and then you can go out into the world and start asking all these questions and setting the book straight, setting the record straight. Once you've learned what this site does, you can then go on and start improving your own lives and making a difference to yourself and your families and your relatives and your loved ones and the loved ones you're going to leave behind. So an Englishman's word is his bond. Apparently once upon a time it was. Woe to you scribes, wake up Mother England. Absolutely, I do. I really do. Did he say more than 10,000 laws will not be learned to know by the people, and we have 1,000? Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Overthrow a rich man and you will not find a poor man, for the few rich are the cause of many poor. It's true. It is true, guys. We've all got to wake up, and we are absolutely waking up right now. So I thought I'd come in here this afternoon and just, nail it down again. I think we need an uprising. I think we need a renaissance period. I think people are going to have no choice. Soon, in the next few months, people are going to wake up very sharply to the understanding that they're in a hunger game. Because when people have their gas turned off, their electric turned off, and they can't get food from the shops, then they're going to be forced, and I mean shook by the shoulders, to pay attention. And it's going to come tough. It's going to come tough for many, because there's many out there that haven't got a clue. So I would implore all of you that are awake, that have a sense of well-being and balance about you and understand what goes on, to be open-armed and to welcome them and say, we're going to be all right, because we are all going to be all right. These are the current time periods we're in. Guys, I've seen this coming for years. 14, 15 years ago, I woke up and I was like rocked to the core. A year into that waking up process, I had a woman ring me in tears, and she was working for the Citizens Advice Bureau, right? This woman was working for Citizens Advice, and I said to her, sweetheart, what's the problem? This woman was inconsolable. She said, Dave, I don't know what's going on. She said, I woke up a few weeks ago and I knew that everything that I was doing in the world and what was going on in the world was wrong. And I don't know what to do about it. And I had a good long chat with her. But the fact that she'd got that placed on her heart, and the fact that it upset her so much, and she said, I know I've got to change so many things in my life. I thought to myself back then, men and women are getting downloads. They're getting hit by the spirit. The spirit's piling into them at a rapid rate. And it's very hard to digest. It's very, very, very hard. And it comes sometimes at a bit of a price. Many truthers I've known, they've paid ultimate prices. But the system only has control over all the things that you hold dear to. Your homes, your cars. That's it. That's once you've lost all of that, then you might not have in your eyes anything, but you're truly free. Really, you really, really are. There's a film, Michael Douglas. I think it's called The Game, and I watched this on Dave Murphy's video the other night. Fabulous thing, and this thing's called The Game, and there's participants in this movie, and he gets given a car window winder. So he's got the wooden handle with the metal handle with the little 90-degree bend on it, and he don't know what he's got it for, and he's told to keep it, and he puts it in his pocket, and he's told all the way through this thing that whenever the times get tough, just repeat this mantra: it's just a game. It's just a game. It's just a game. And he ends up in this cab, and this cab's hurtling along the road. All the doors are locked down, and the driver leaps out the car, and the car hurtles off the pier. It flies into the Hudson River, I do believe, and he's in the air pocket, and the car's going down and down and down, and he's panicking. And all of a sudden, he realised it's just a game. And he's saying, it's just a game. It's just a game. It's just a game. And he reached into his pocket, he got the window wiper out, and he wound the window down, and the water rushed in, he climbed out, and he made it to the surface. That's what this life's all about. You've got to have that window winder. You've really got to have that window winder. And many of us have woken up to a lot of this. You know, them little weird voices inside your head telling you to do this, to do that. You need to get control of that, and you have to boss that, because that's a childlike mind talking to you. And you have to say, go and sit in the corner. You're not coming on top of me right now. And then you can get on top of things. In that podcast by Dave Murphy, there was another thing with Harrison Ford, where he's a big businessman. He gets a new table, and this table comes home, and he can't stand it. He calls it a turtle. He said, it looks like a turtle. Get rid of it. I hate it. And as he walks out in a fury, he gets shot in the head. And it takes him months to recover. And finally, he comes home. He's lost his memory. And his wife got hold of him, and he's come walking in, stumbling in the house. And they took him into one room. And he's gone, wow, this is home. And they're saying, yeah, this is your home. He didn't have a clue. And as he's walked back through, because he's got no preconditions, he's looked at the table and he said, lovely table. Just shows you, doesn't it? Just shows you when you don't listen to these little inner demons that pop up and get into your head. Guys, before I disappear, so many people, we're in the almost end of September now. Once the energy companies have rinsed everybody in this country, which they are big time right now, then you're going to see masses and masses and masses of people, not through choice, but through necessity. They're all going to have to wake up. They're all going to have to come together, and they're all going to have to go and do something about it. Trust me, it's coming for so many people. I hope that you're all okay through all this time period. I really, really do. And until next time, thanks for tuning in. As always, we're just up to 48 minutes. Boy, does it fly when we pop in here. And I'll see you all soon. You know, God's peace be with you all. And yeah, take care, guys. Have a good week.